My name is Phoebe, and I'm a member of Henderson Metro Church, and this is my story. I grew up in church. My mom and dad were very heavily a part of the church. My dad preached at revivals, and I grew up going to those revivals, falling asleep in the pew in the front row. That's what I can remember from the time I was, old enough to remember that. Going to church was just something I grew up doing. That was in my blood. Even if I stayed at a friend's house, I would wake up on a Sunday morning and I would go to church because my parents would pick me up. Fast forward a little bit to my high school years, I went through a stage of rebellion, and one summer at youth camp, it was my sophomore year, and I went to the altar and I just really was crying out to the Lord, asking Him, what do I do? Where do I go? And what is my purpose? And from that moment on, I knew I didn't want to play around anymore. I wanted my life to impact those around me, and I wanted them to see that I have the joy of the Lord in me. And from that moment, my entire life changed, and I gave it 100% to God. High school was rough for me because I was in special ed and I dealt with people always making fun of me, and whenever I had people making fun of me and calling me names, I found more in that than I did in what the Lord thought of me. And I struggled with that. And a verse that comes to mind is, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to give you hope and a future." That just wrecked my heart, and from that moment, that verse has been a life verse for me. And after high school, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I ended up in Master's Commission, which is a discipleship program, and I met my husband, and we got married, and we had a miscarriage, within the first month of our marriage. And that was hard, very hard. Moms take on that nature of mom when they hear that they're pregnant. And I was very angry with God, very, very angry. I asked the Lord to heal my heart, to bring healing, and I drawed near to Him, drawed near to my husband. And in May of 2018, we had just moved to Jefferson City, Missouri. We were pastors there, and we found out that we were pregnant again at 5 weeks. And a few days later, I was at home and I started cramping really bad. And I called my husband at work and I said, "I think it's happening again." And I just knew from that moment that I was miscarrying again. In that moment, I was very angry with God. All the anger came back. I found myself not wanting to go to church, not wanting to read my Bible, drawing away from my husband because I was angry with God, and I was angry at why it was happening. In August of 2019, my husband went to a men's retreat, and he came back and we had a lot of conversation, and he was healed of some things. And in November of 2019, Thanksgiving weekend, a weekend that we were supposed to share thanks and goodness with our family and with our friends, a day of just thankfulness. And I could not eat anything all day at Thanksgiving. Found myself just wanting to actually lay around. And I took a pregnancy test and there was nothing That night I took another pregnancy test, and then the next day I took another pregnancy test, and there was nothing. And on Saturday, I took a pregnancy test, and my husband was at work, and there were 2 lines saying that I was pregnant. And at that point, I was 8 weeks along, went to the doctor. They could see the gestational sac, but they weren't sure if I was going to be able to carry the baby all the way through. A couple weeks later, we went to another appointment, and our baby was there, and we could see that we were having a baby girl. And 2019, Charlotte was born, and the Lord is good. And a verse that I think of is Psalms 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart. And I found that whenever I poured in more and more after my second miscarriage, and I really just delighted in what the Lord wanted me to do, and in His plan, He'll give us the desires of our heart. And He did give me the desires of my heart, and that was to be a mom. That's something I've always dreamed of, is being a mom. And so for those that have had miscarriages or are struggling with to have a baby, my encouragement to you is to delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. It may be tough now, but God is going to give you your miracle baby and that desire of your heart. Because I know if it wasn't for me digging into my Bible and delighting myself in the Lord, it might not have happened. So that's my encouragement to you ladies, to you moms, to the ones struggling with infertility. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. My name is Phoebe, and this is my story.